You're listening to the Staffa Corner Podcast, a Staffa-tarian look at entertainment and life with your host, Greg Staffa.
She was seen for 2 seasons on Lethal Weapon on Fox, and now is a series regular on the upcoming second season of BET Plus's First Wives Club. Michelle, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, and that's 3 seasons of Lethal Weapon.
3 seasons. That's right, on Lethal
Oh
Weapon.
man, yeah.
'Cause I
Chasing bad guys for 3 seasons.
I
Yes,
forgot
yes,
Sean William
sir.
Scott took over, and then there was this 3
Mhm.
seasons. So you are an Army brat, grew up in New Jersey, is that correct?
Yes, I would say so. Between Army bases in New York, New Jersey, I was born in Georgia, called Fort Benning, Georgia, which is down in Columbus.
What was that like growing up, bouncing all around?
Honestly, it was great. I think thinking about it now as an adult.
As a kid, was it an adventure for you, or did you see yourself as being different, or is it just this is the way it is growing up?
This is the way it is, I would say. Yeah, I didn't really feel different or know it was different until I got older and I met people who were born and raised in the same place and went, kindergarten through high school with the same people. I didn't really get that concept fully until I was an adult and I was like, oh, that's a thing.
Stability.
Yeah, check that out. But what's interestingly enough, as every I don't know, 4 or 5 years, I'm like, I kind of want to move somewhere, or I either want to. I've moved to like a different, location in LA, or I think I want a different. I need a different space. I need different energy. So I wonder now that I'm like talking through this with you, I'm like, maybe that's from childhood.
Do you think it helped as an actress, just as far as a lot of times you hear actors saying, I had to be away from my family for 5 months. It was really difficult. The moving around, I'm a New York guy or whatever, and I had to spend,
Right.
6 months in Vancouver. Do you think that was something that helped kind of prepare you for what you're doing now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Whenever it's time to you got to up and be somewhere, I'm all for it. I have yet to. My husband is actually working out of the country right now, on a show, but I have yet to work out. Have I? Wait, before I say that, yes, I've yet to work out of the country, so I can't wait for that. Like I want to be everywhere all the time.
What got you interested in dancing?
My parents, young, very energetic kid, and was like, all right, we got to put her into different activities to channel this energy. And I was exposed to different types of things, and dance is kind of just what really stuck once I got into around the 4th grade. And it just started continuing to just go up from there.
And is there a style that you like, or is it just an expression in itself that it doesn't matter the type of dancing you're doing? It's just as long as you're able to express yourself.
That's exactly it. I love it. I just love being able to express myself in whatever dance form. So yeah.
And you've worked with some talented people. What was that like? Is that something that's hands-on as much as we think it is, or is it kind of they come in last minute, you perform, you're working with them, but it's hands off, but kind of like extras in film. The extras don't hang out with
Got
you
it.
guys. Is that something that the dancer's routine is usually, or is there a collaboration that you're able to do, or how does that work?
It's different for different artists. I will say for most of my professional dance career, it was a situation where we were rehearsing for days and hours on end. So it was but then there has been different situations where maybe I was just doing a music video and I was one of the girls in the music video and the artist. Like, for example, I did a music video for CeeLo Green, and I didn't meet him until the day of. But before that, we had, rehearsals or whatever.
Sure.
So, and then I went to Morocco. We were with him, and one of them was in Morocco in Africa. And again, it was like pretty much saw him when it was time to do the show. He wasn't at rehearsals. with us or anything. But other artists, I've had the opportunity to like really work with them, and that has been, or that was such a really incredible experience.
So acting versus dancing. I mean, acting, you're saying lines, you're saying dialogue, you're triggering emotions through your words. Dancing, you're expressing yourself. Do you see those as kind of two of the same things, just a different format, or are they completely two separate beasts? What made you decide to give up success in dancing and try acting?
Yeah, well, for me, I went to performing arts high school, so I had been studying vocal theater and dance since I was a teenager, not really a preteen. So for me, I kind of had this understanding for myself that I didn't want to go into my 30s or 40s still dancing professionally behind an artist. I knew that ultimately I did want to transition into acting. Some of my biggest role models were Janet Jackson, J-Lo, these artists who have, and Debbie Allen, of course, like who have all of this, who started as dancers or have a strong dance background, but have been able to successfully have a acting career. So that's kind of always been part of the plan, honestly. So I just kind of went according to plan. While I was dancing and doing shows, I still was taking acting classes or doing a YouTube show.
So the dancing was a way to get your feet going, be part of a group, be part of that process, and then you wanted to more individualize and find your own voice through acting. Is that what I'm
That's
hearing?
exactly it. That's exactly it.
Someone would tell you, being with Beyonce or whoever you've been dancing with, you're used to big celebrities, you're used to being around. Was that the acting? Was that an eye opener? Did it translate well for you, or was it kind of a new learning experience despite going to school for all of it?
Well, I think you hit it right there because I had this experience with working with Wesley Snipes, Angela Bassett, Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think I'm really thankful for my dance career because I have already been introduced to me some of the the highest well-known artists of our maybe of our decade lifetime. And so stepping into those spaces as an actor, I was able to step in with a little bit more of maybe confidence in, okay, you're a person just like I'm a person, and we're both artists who are here to do a great job. I learned that a lot as a dancer. So yeah, it really prepared me to step into those kind of rooms with these giants of our industry.
Wow, and those are some big names.
Yeah, it was pretty insane, and incredible. And I mean, Spike Lee himself is. I mean, to have to audition for him, I actually did NBA 2K16. It was the first time they did a film in a video game, and that was like my first film, if you will, with him. And then directly after that, I was able to do Chirac in Chicago. So that summer of 2015, that year of 2015, I spent almost like February through like August working with Spike Lee on two different projects.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
that's something a lot of actors just wish they could say sometime during their career that they did like a Spike Lee film or whatnot. So that's
Yeah. Joint. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
it did.
Mhm.
Is there some? I mean, a lot of times you hear about actors and actresses. They go through the struggles. They go through the hardships of being an actor. They wait tables. It sounds like this was a fairly smooth transition. Did it feel like a smooth transition for you? You knew what you want. You went for it. You got it. Does that, or am I missing something that the hardships?
Yeah. No, that you're very much on track. I guess a lot of my hustle, if you will,
Mhm.
was when I was a dancer. So while I was pursuing my dance career, I was working at a call center. I work at this uh I don't know if you're familiar with Bar Fitness, but I worked at this Bar Fitness studio
Okay.
in Beverly Hills, and that's why I was like into dance auditions and such. I sang background a little bit for some artists, and so by the time I was transitioning to acting and to the point where I was making money for it, I mean, thankfully enough, was opportunities that financially were great. And so it was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not doing this dance thing anymore. Yeah, and to your point, I think I had just put in so many years in the dance field preparing, that's where my hustle was, that when I transitioned into acting, it was seamless. And so I am super grateful for that. And I don't take that lightly, or for granted.
Do you think dancing is a logical path to go into acting? I mean, or did it just work for you? I mean, it feels very
I think
natural the way you did it, and I don't think many actors or actresses would say start off as a dancer, build yourself up, work and collaborate with people, and then become an actor.
right. I mean, I will say this, first of all, no one's path or is the blueprint, right?
Sure.
Everyone's path is going to be different. So it's really challenging when anyone asks me, like, what would you say? Should I this or that? Because everyone's path is so unique. It's like I could give you each and every step that I took, and that wouldn't guarantee you to be in the same position I'm in. It just wouldn't. But what to your question, I hope this still answers it, is that having a foundation, I believe, as an actor, having a foundation in another art form is only going to enhance you as an actor. Particularly with dance, I think one of the most powerful moments, you can tell me if you agree, in acting is when there's no words, when you can just feel the emotion through this person's eyes, or these two characters, and however they're engaging with one another. And the thing about dancing is there's no speaking.
True.
It's only movement through your body. Now, granted, it's somewhat on the opposite ends, in the sense of maybe one is a little is more subtle, and as an actor, obviously, you're not maybe as expressive as you are in dance. But to be able to tell a story in a ballet, and people can leave the theater crying almost in tears, and there's not been one word spoken, is just as powerful as if you watch Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant, and he's just went through all of this danger. So I just find that dancers, and there's so many incredible actors who started as dancers, it immensely enhances your arsenal as an actor. So if there's any dancers that I meet who are like, I want to get into acting, I would also say you're doing the right thing, that you're a dancer right now. You're going to have a leg up. You're going to be able to, once you figure out what works for you, you're going to be in such a strong place because you know your body and you're comfortable with your body and you're used to speaking and having conversations without words.
And I think some of it just in my own thinking, is the mentality is very similar between actor and dancer. You don't get up on a stage and start performing as a dancer. It takes repetition. It takes practice to do the staging and everything like that. As for an actor, it's memorizing your lines, memorizing direction. And so I think there's a lot of that. And if you can prove yourself as a dancer and taking the time to hustle and to learn your performance and be able to perform, then as an actor, that kind of hustle is still there as well. That might translate
Absolutely.
to something like that. See,
Absolutely. The discipline is absolutely, transitions beautifully. However, I will say what I've struggled with sometime is, because of that discipline, because of so many years of essentially being told what step to do on what count, sometimes that technicality, when in acting you need to just be free and in the moment and present, sometimes I have to really work a little bit harder on that, and not being so technical and so right on the mark with everything, and letting things breathe and being as present as possible. That is something I have to take, kind of like that discipline. And of course it's needed and it's necessary when we have long hours on set, but sometimes in the moment it can, I think sometimes it could be a little too on the nose and a little too perfect, and there's got to be a lot more freedom, because human beings, we're free. We're not, when we're speaking or how we engage with one another, it's not calculated. It's not on a count. It's not on a rhythm. It's not on a beat.
and you can
So,
tell when it's
yes,
the dialogue is natural or whatnot. Will Smith used to talk about when he first did Fresh Prince, he memorized all the lines, and if you watch some of the earlier episodes, you can see him mumbling other people's lines so he would know where he was, and it was because he memorized everything and was so dedicated that it almost his first couple of episodes were kind of almost robotic, because he was, like you said, kind of going through the motions, not relaxing, and just kind of becoming that character.
Yeah, it's tough, but we're all a work in progress.
So Lethal Weapon, you did it for 3 seasons, came in right after the pilot, so pretty much you were filming before it aired. So I mean, for all inclusive purposes, you were for the full run. I mean, the pilot
Yeah, yeah.
is different, but now you're joining First Wives Club. They're doing their second season on BET Plus. What was that like to
Mhm.
go from somewhere where you were family from the almost beginning to now you're joining in someone else's family? What was that kind of transition
Yeah.
like?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it goes back to your first question about, my father being in the military, right? And it's that same thing, just using these life experiences to do that. Okay, I got to go to a different city. I have to join a different cast of people, and I have to just be confident in who I am. And I will say that I definitely miss my Lethal Weapon family. We were really, really tight. We still have a group chat now. We were doing very well on that network as well. And unfortunately, it ended for reasons outside of, our control and even outside of ratings. So it was challenging in that regard because I just missed what I had. And it was, of course, here in LA. So it was only a 20-minute car ride. But at the same time, having to jump into another show where there's already an established crew and established leads. I jumped in as one of the leads as well. Definitely took a lot of just mental, like just mentally every day, just reaffirming that I belong there and that I have something to offer and to just trust the process. The beautiful thing is that the way this season is written, how my character is introduced, and how she interacts with the other leads and gets to know the other, it's almost similar to how it was for me in real life.
Okay.
So I was able to pull from that, and I think the audience will be able to get to know me and get to see if they like this character or not in real time. So it worked out, and like I said, just those life experiences help too. Bouncing around a little bit from military bases here and there.
Now, do you have much input on your character, or are you pretty much told this is your character, this is the storylines, this is your dialogue, go do it?
Yeah, you know what? The creator, Tracy Oliver, well, creator of this television series version, she's very collaborative. I First of all, I just have to sing her praises. Like, she's an incredible writer, creator. She has made like historical um, history, with her work. So I just want to say that and just applaud her and give her flowers. So that's one. And then two, when I was hired, she was very much like, this is what I think and feel for her. She definitely had a clear vision of who she felt Jayla was. And I will say that this is the first of very few times where I completely agree with that vision. I loved it. There would be times where, just a small example, I think we were getting halfway through the season and I kind of felt like, man, I don't think my character's hair has been down. But I just kind of was like, all right, maybe they just want her to just be like this. But sure enough, Tracy, the showrunner, had already contacted the hair department and said, "Hey, we don't really see Jayla's hair down. Can we can we figure that out?" So she's definitely open to collaborating. However, it was so well written, there wasn't really much else to add. I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed the different situations she was put into, and it was just really, really cool.
Now, you play an attorney on this series, correct?
Yes, I
And
do. A divorce attorney.
you were a detective on Lethal Weapon. Is that
Yes.
something that a strong black woman? Is that something that you're looking for, or are these just characters that you're playing? Does that go into your thinking with when you're taking roles, or is each character, regardless of if the character is strong, you're strong, and that's what's important?
Yeah, I definitely don't, uh, I guess, intentionally seek it out. However, you know, is that energy in essence just doesn't lie. And I think a lot of times, us as actors, I can do anything in any role. And that may be true, but somebody's essence and energy just brings what the character needs. And so I think the strength that I do exhibit and have, um, why some of these roles do find their way to me and I to them. It's interesting with Lethal Weapon. I wasn't really checking for Lethal Weapon. I was like, okay, I'll just go to this detective role. At the time when I went, it was just a guest star. I
Mhm.
didn't know that I'd be doing 50 plus episodes after that. So I was just kind of like, okay. I had just done a pilot where I got to play a cool character that didn't get picked up. So I was kind of on my like soapbox about that. And I was like, okay, whatever. And it just kind of happened that way. And then with this character, Jayla, um, again, like, I was asked to test for it. And what I do like about her is that she's strong because she's representing, um, she's a divorce attorney, and you think you have to be super strong
Mhm.
to be a divorce attorney. But what I loved about her, honestly, Greg, is that she's super silly and fun and likes to have a good time. And that's something that wasn't really shown in Lethal Weapon. So, yes, I think I naturally exhibit strength. So that's what's going to come to me. I believe what you put out in the world, it kind of makes its way to you. But if I had to say what I'm looking for, I want to do more rom com, more young adult. I would love to work with some kids, show my softer, silly side. I think Black women, we've been strong, our whole entire existence. And that's not the only story I want to tell. But I don't mind telling it when it's time to tell it.
So you think the First Wives Club is more not necessarily you as a character, but you as your heart and soul is seen more through that
Yeah,
character than
yeah,
Lethal Weapon.
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm not hard and tough like 24/7. I can be, and I can pull that out, of course, it's in my DNA. But honestly, most of the time, I'm about the jokes, I'm about having fun, I'm about dancing and being silly and all of that. And those are the kind of characters that I want to see more Black women be a part of. And that's why I love that this show is a dramedy. You know what I mean? It's so funny and it's so fun.
Now it's on BET Plus. As an actor,
Mhm.
do you pay attention to those kind of things? Is that something that's like, oh, it's on BET? I mean, it almost seems
Mhm.
nowadays you have Disney Plus and you have Apple
Mhm.
Plus and you have BET Plus and you have Hulu and
Yeah.
Amazon and I mean, it almost seems like there's great content, but are they reaching
Yeah.
audiences? Is there a risk that
Yeah.
you're putting out something great, powerful, empowering young Black women that it's just not
Mhm.
gonna get out there? Is that a concern, or does good
Yeah.
storytelling find an audience?
One, I think good storytelling does find an audience. And I've never been on a streaming platform. This is my first time. I come from a big network from
Mhm.
Fox, and even the pilot I did from before that was for A&E. So this is new territory for me. So I think, if we do an interview next year, I might have maybe a different perspective.
Sure.
But right now, I do feel like good storytelling will find its audience. But also, I do want to touch upon this. I feel like a lot of other streaming platforms will have this section of their platform, which is great. That's like Black comedies, Black stories, Black this and that, which is great, right? Because it's showing its appreciation of diverse and particularly Black voices. However, when I think of BET Plus, I'm like, wow, this channel and this entity has been such a prominent figure, if you will, if you can
Mhm.
call it that, in Black households for as long as I can remember. And I don't think that it gets as much support as it should, honestly. And given everything that's happened the past year, I would hope that more people would feel inclined to support a Black streaming app. That's important. Just important as strong Black lead on Netflix is, just important as the urban movie channel with the Amazon section, or, just all of these different entities. I would hope that this is also something that people find important to support. Also other ethnicities too, like I think it's important for other ethnicities to be able to have access to a streaming app such as this and get some sort of insight on our culture to
A-
educate themselves
And
on
I
their own time.
and I agree with that. My only inclination is as I mean, I'm an old white guy, but I think we
Yeah.
sometimes focus too much on that. Like a show like Fresh
Mhm.
Off the Boat. Fresh Off the Boat
Yeah.
is a funny American family comedy. and it becomes
Mhm.
easy to pigeonhole it and say, well, it's an Asian comedy. It's
Mhm.
Asian families will love it. No, it's a great comedy. Dr. Ken was a funny comedy, and I think sometimes we risk pigeonholing them by calling them based on the color
Mhm.
versus saying, you know what, great writing. I don't care if they're white, black, Asian, Mexican. Great
Yeah.
writing, great shows should stand on their own too. So I mean, I get
Yeah.
you
So
what
do
you're saying
you?
and having the
Yeah.
importance, but I think sometimes it becomes almost too easy to kind of pigeonhole
Gotcha.
into a corner and say, this is a black series. Well, no, if First Wives Club, if you enjoyed the movie, it's a different cast, different stories, but you know what? It's good writing. You should enjoy it, regardless if it's on
Yeah. So
BET Plus or Fox.
yeah, for
That's
sure. What black shows have you watched lately that you enjoy?
Blackish.
That you would say, okay.
Blackish, I mean, they deal with with issues and stuff like that, but it's not. Um,
Mhm.
you don't feel like it's because black issues are everyone's issues. I mean, for the most part,
Mhm.
it's raising your kids, raising a family, making sure the kids are provided for, and stuff like that. So, I think too often we go to our corners, and I think now's the time to be more open to things and being willing to see things, not because of those labels, and just say, you know what, hey,
Right.
you want to check out a great dramedy? There's a show called First Wives Club. It's on BET Plus. You're gonna love it.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I
matter
think
what.
yeah, I think as a, an older white male, you're transition to say that. But that's just and that's great that you have, you idea of these are humans having a human experience. Um, you mentioned a show that's on a major network. So it has a lot of visibility,
True.
and had a lot of support, which is great and amazing. I would challenge you though, if you have the time and the opportunity, to watch an episode of Living Single. Living Single is came before Friends.
Yep, that
Is
was the
almost
original Friends with was Martin
right.
Lawrence in it?
No,
No.
Martin Lawrence had his own show, but my point in that, even like your what you're saying, it was Martin Lawrence in that, right? No, he wasn't in it, but I'm pretty sure most often than not, no one would confuse one of the characters from Friends being in something else.
Sure.
And so, I think that it's great that you're in that kind of position, but as and fresh off the boat, great, like you said, it's an incredible series and it's super funny on a major network that has a lot of visibility. And I can even say this for myself. I could probably do a better job of maybe even going to more Asian outlets and educating myself even deeper into their culture, not just the most visible only one I directly have access to. And that's kind of just what I'm going. My point is in
No,
your
I get it.
question is like a lot of people aren't gonna download. Do you have BT Plus?
I do, but some of that's just because I
You
review
do.
things and have to check it out, and so yeah. So
Would you say you're breaking up? Would you say?
I have to review things and check out things anyway. So
Oh, right. So yeah,
it's
that's great.
my answer is almost a
Tell
default
you that a
answer.
lot of can I tell you though that a lot of people just don't think like, well, they have Netflix, they have Hulu, they have Amazon, but they're not thinking, oh, let me actually download an all black streaming app. Just like I could do a better job of finding, like I said, more Asian. So yes, we don't want to pigeonhole because you don't want to feel like that's the only thing they are. It's
Sure.
only Latino and only black, and you're absolutely correct in that. But I guess maybe it's our job as artists and your job as a interviewer and someone who has a platform to like how can we merge it and give I guess both sides of that discussion its just due. You
Yeah, I
know,
think we have the same want, just different
yeah,
approaches. For me,
yeah,
it's we need to do a better job at finding shows that are just quality shows and stop trying to put the labels on things
yeah.
because it is, it's especially nowadays. I just think we're better off just finding quality versus, well, what color is it?
Oh
And
yeah, I mean, I definitely agree too. It's just that would be a lot easier if a lot of spaces got equal opportunity at equality stuff.
And I
That's
think
just
TV viewers
that's just not
don't.
the case.
I think TV viewers don't take risks anymore either. I mean, there is a Disney Plus
Interesting.
show
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
just watched called Big Shots, and it's about a high school
Oh,
girls
I have my friend
basketball
Yvette
team.
Nicole Brown is on that.
Yeah, and if you look at my Twitter feed, there's several tweets praising her on that because I think it's one of her best roles on
Oh
that
wow,
show.
yeah, she's
The
I did
principal.
her movie. Yeah, I did her movie Always a Bridesmaid. I don't know if you saw it. That's on BET Plus, but it originally was on Netflix. Um, she wrote a movie Always a Bridesmaid, and it was a rom-com. And I got to be funny and light and cool, and just but also a good strong friend. And she has in her career has done a great job of like being in so many different diverse casts.
Sure.
She's just so incredible, and she just directed a short, and she had me be her lead for her first time directing. So hopefully you'll check that out when it comes out
Oh, I
too.
will. But my
Yeah.
point was, it's a show about a high school girls basketball team, and I'm a
Mhm.
46-year-old white guy, and
Mhm.
why? I mean, society would say that that's not on my radar. That's just not.
Right.
And yet,
Yeah.
we need to take a better shot in life at taking chances and watching the show. Because if you look at my Twitter feed, it's my God,
Mhm.
this show on Disney Plus, I absolutely love it. I love the story. I love the
Yeah.
heart. I love everything about it. I absolutely love it. Yet it would be easy for me to say, oh, it's a high school girls basketball team show about that. I really
Wow, I
don't
gotta
need to
watch
see
that.
about that.
Yeah.
I think we as an
Yeah.
audience need to be better at going, well, BET, well, I heard it's a great show. Let's check out First Wives Club. But instead, we don't take risks as
Yeah.
viewers anymore. I think there's so
I
much
think you're
out there
right.
that we just don't take risks as viewers. Well, I like action comedy, so that's what I'm gonna stick with. And we don't take
Yeah.
a look at shows that don't fit what we should be
Yeah.
watching.
I would
And
agree with that. I think you're right, and you saying that definitely puts me, on a challenge of like, what else can I watch that maybe wouldn't be directly on my radar. I don't know. You know what I mean? Although I feel like I have a very crazy palette. Like I love Westworld on one end, and then I'm in First Fight Club. So, but yeah, I can agree with what you're saying. That I think we could afford to think a little bit outside the box. But I think people like to see themselves too. They like to see themselves in stories that they can relate to. So I think that probably has a lot to do with it.
but I
But
mean,
yeah, I hear you.
I get what you're saying is seeing, but like how much of yourself do you see in Westworld? Robotic. I mean, I think some of it's an escape. I think that's what we clamor for. So I
Yeah.
get your importance. We need to see diversity. We need to see ourselves reflected on stuff. But sometimes, like I said, I think so much comes down to writing. If you have good writing, it
Hmm.
shouldn't matter if it's a story about a bunch of black women in first wives clubs or if it's about a bunch of high school girls on a basketball team.
Yeah.
If
So why do
the
you think? Yeah, but then that's kind of like, well, then why would a show like Friends versus Living Single have way more notoriety, and it's just as equally good in terms of the quality of the writing?
timing, luck, I mean, how is it that
No,
some
I'll tell
shows?
you what it is. Just more. I mean, you said we got to think outside of a box on what we watch. You from what you're saying have watched Living Single. People have not,
It's
and it
been many
wasn't
years, but
on a major network. It's like being able to get an even opportunity is a huge part of it. If First Wives was ABC or CBS, it probably would maybe even be even bigger. It'd probably have way more seasons because it'd be way more visible. But when you're and when it's not, you got to trust the art. You got to trust good storytelling. Um, I will say I love the writing. I watched the first season, obviously not knowing that I would ever be a part of it,
sure.
and I was very much impressed with the writing. And I felt, um, I mean, I was similar to you. I had to tweet about it as well. Like this show is incredible, very well written, and very well acted, and um, just to highlight at that time, at least in the first season, older Black women in their relationships and divorces and things like that, in their careers. It was just really awesome to see. I think the last time I've seen like older women on screen like that was maybe like Sex in the City, where you kind of where there few of them are in their 40s or what have you.
Mhm.
And I guess Girls Trip too, but I mean it's definitely very different from Girls Trip. It's not necessarily like Girls Trip, but I just all of that to say I really just love the writing on the show, and I hope that viewers have the same mindset that you have, where it's like, hey, I loved First Class Club the movie. Let me see what it's like with these newer characters and in this world. So I hope that the art will find its audience and hopefully an even bigger audience. I do know that what's interesting is that I noticed that like it's also now it's on Showtime, now it's on Amazon. So I don't know if that's a production decision where it starts on BBC and kind of goes somewhere else, but I could only kind of imagine that that probably has a lot to do with this is a high quality show and we need more people to have access to see it, which I think is super cool.
No, it is
Um,
great.
yeah, so
And I mean that was the essence of my question. It wasn't to put down BET Plus. It was to
oh
say,
no, no, no,
is so
yeah.
much of this watered down that you almost have to pick and choose of, what app do you want and what,
Yeah.
program.
It's
And you even
yeah.
talking about shows. You mentioned a show and you're like, oh, what one is that on? And
Where
you're like,
yeah,
oh
where's it
God,
at?
it's
Yeah.
Amazon or Hulu or Netflix or one of those, and it almost
It's
becomes
overwhelming.
hard to promote a show unless you're absolutely certain. BET Plus, this is where it's at. It's
Yeah.
our answers often are, it's on Hulu or Amazon or Netflix. Well, that's not how you advertise a show. But
Yeah. I
so
mean, I like you said, we got to get out the box, and it's evolving. And I find myself in even, I mean, I'm a supporter of TV and film myself, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get another app for something. I gotta get HBO Max, and then there's HBO, and then there's like, you know, I'm like, should I just go back to having cable where I just get every channel and then their app is included? Maybe
yeah, but
I
even
don't
then,
know.
it's just
I
so
still wouldn't have Netflix, and I still wouldn't have.
there's there's so much choices
I
that
don't know.
I just wonder how much gets watered down as far as being able to promote or find the good shows, or if they're able to
Yeah.
trickle up and kind of make their way
What
to the
works for
surface.
you? What
What's
works for you? Like shows, like how do you find shows? What works for you? Should we as artists, do you think I should just, scream it out on my social media platform? That's only gonna get to a certain, like what do you think?
I think
As
social
someone who
media
do
is
shows.
a good start. Because
Okay.
I mean, like I'm a critic, but what I
Yeah.
say doesn't matter. I mean, what I say just doesn't matter to anyone. I mean, let's be honest. No one. But what you do is you get people that follow you, and you get people that like you, and so it's
Okay.
like your own friends. If your own friends come up to you and say, "Hey, Michelle, did you check out that new movie in the theaters?" You say, "Yeah, I saw it
Yeah.
last night." And then you give your opinion. That's what a critic is. A critic, you
Mhm.
find you like their personality, you like what they do in life, you like their attitude, you like their thoughts and their stuff. And so when it comes time to reviewing something, you're using that information. I wouldn't go see a film just because I said it was good.
Mm.
Show it because I know Greg. I've been following him for a while. I know what he likes. I know what he doesn't like. I know what turns him on and off with films. And if he says I like this based on what I know about him, that's what I'm going by. But I think critics
Yeah.
often kind of have a high horse about themselves. But for me, it's
Yeah.
it's about giving shows a chance. Like Big
Yeah.
Shots,
That's good.
to be able to just say, you know what, it doesn't matter that I mean, to society, 46-year-old watching a girls basketball show doesn't sound like something that would be doable. But I think we just need to these days be open to shows, give shows a
Yeah.
chance. Um, but I think social media is a big thing because if I'm a fan of you, I follow you, and hey, you're doing a short, you're doing this, check it out.
Mm.
And so I think we're all our own best advertisers. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I tweeted endlessly about Big Shots and my followers, wow, he liked this show,
Mm.
I'll check it out too. So I
You
think
went to watch it. Yeah.
it's building an audience that you're honest with. Not every show
Mm.
is great. If every review
Yeah.
I had was great, love this show. No, it's you find things to, I try not to be overly critical, but if I do criticize something, then I explain why I criticize something. But I think honesty is the best advertisement. You know, you're
Okay.
building trust with an audience and going from there. And so that's how I try to get things out. And it like I
Yeah.
said, it's so watered down these days where there's so much content that it's hard to find things. So you have to listen to others. And, there's not
Yeah.
commercials for First Wives Club. There's not commercials for Big Shots. So I
Yeah.
think social media
Mhm.
these days is such a big thing. And
Yeah.
for me, I mean, I'm fortunate as a critic where I get a lot of stuff sent to me early and where I'm able to screen it.
Yeah.
And I like doing
Yeah.
that just because it's without the filter of other people.
Yeah.
Where
That's such
you
a yeah.
where a movie opens up the first weekend and everyone starts trashing it and you haven't seen it yet. So you go into it going, well, everyone else hates it. I wonder what's so bad about it. That's not the right
Right.
attitude to have. So I'm
Yeah.
fortunate as a critic to be able to see something without everyone telling me if it's good or bad. And then I take the leap of saying what I thought of it, but
Yeah.
not always right, but you never know. So
Absolutely.
wrapping things up, one of the things that you do is the Mitchenor Foundation. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, it's a performing and creative arts program that provides just that performing and creative arts to children in underserved communities. So what that means is that we have a program filled with dancing, theater and voice, writing, health and fitness, and we go to these more underserved communities where we serve or where we were serving pre-COVID was in Skid Row,
Okay.
Los Angeles. So we went to, or we were partnered rather with a shelter there. We worked with the kids there.
What
And
shelter?
then I also, I'm sorry.
Do you remember what shelter?
Yeah, Union Rescue Mission.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that Andy
they do
Bales?
an incredible. Yeah, they do a really great job out there. It's the only shelter that houses children.
No, is that the one that's
So
run by Andy Bales? Do you know?
yes, I believe so. That's the gentleman who's in the wheelchair now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, he runs it. Unfortunately, I've never been able to meet him, only his staff members, but that was the only place I was looking for children in LA that I could help and assist. And anyone who lives in LA knows that Skid Row is a place that where a lot of the homeless live.
Oh yes.
That's where all their help and resources is. So that's where they live. And so I was like, wow, what happens to the children here? Because these people, some of them have children, and so that's when we found Union Rescue Mission. So we started partnering with them in the summers and during the breaks. And then we also go to Uganda and we go to India.
Oh wow. Yeah, Andy.
And yeah,
Andy got he worked on Skid Row, and he got an
yeah,
infection in his leg and lost it,
yeah,
and that's why he's
yeah. That's what
in.
I'm saying. He's in the wheelchair now. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the thing is being in Skid Row. It is equivalent. It's very close to a third world country out there. It's
It's an
it's a lot
awakening.
going on. Yeah, it's definitely an awakening. You go from the Staples Centers to Skid Row, and you're like, wow, okay, yeah, we have a problem here. But yeah, that's what we do. We work with the babies. My kid, I can't really say babies. I mean, I guess they're all my babies, but we work from infant all the way up to teenager, and it's my heart's joy, honestly. And due to COVID and it being children, it's something that I think was important to wait until 2022.
Sure.
So hopefully we'll be back then. Our last program was in probably right in March of 2020. So we'll be back in 2022.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great, and I think it's great that you're doing that. So many people go down the Skid Row with food and stuff like that, but there's other needs and services that kind of aren't addressed
Yeah,
as.
and to be honest, I was one of those people. I actually I forget, through an organization, they would go every, let's say, Tuesday and provide a lunch, and I thought was great. However, what I noticed was out there in Skid Row, it's all about survival, right?
Yeah.
So what they know is I'm gonna come and put a tent out on the street because I know at this place I can take a shower, this place I can get breakfast, this organization comes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This organization on this corner. This organization comes on this day and that day on this corner. I can get this on Sunday night. Like, you know what I mean? They're able to thrive off of who comes in and give them their resources, which is obviously great. But I wanted to provide something that they can continue to take with them wherever they go.
Sure.
And so these children being able to express themselves through writing, creating stories and dancing, while their parents are going through whatever it is that they're going through, I think it's going to have that everlasting impression, or I hope so. Yeah, thank you for seeing that, because that was intentional.
I think so many of it for kids though is their parents have lost hope, and so there's nothing to kind of drive for the future. And it sounds like what your charity is doing is giving them a sense of joy that's not kind of dwelling on their own experiences and finding a passion that's outside of Skid Row, but more their situations. And I think that's what's needed and forgotten when it comes to homelessness. Is it's getting through day to day, but also having something to look forward to and to kind of dream about and want to get out of it. So I applaud you
100%.
for that, because homelessness is not a fun thing to experience.
No, it's not. But it's tough here in LA, though. It's a huge issue.
Oh yeah.
Very huge. It's very expensive to live here. I mean, it's just a lot going on, but yeah.
No, I before I became a TV critic, I was homeless. I spent 3 years homeless, and
okay, so you know,
I wrote a blog about how a TV show helped get me through my homelessness, and entertainment site saw it and said, "Hey, come write for us." And so I went from homeless to interviewing celebrities and interviewing Pierce Brosnans and stuff like that. And so, but I know
what show was it? Now I'm curious.
It was a show called White Collar.
Light color?
White Collar.
White Collar. Okay.
Yeah, it's on US Network, and it really had nothing. It wasn't entirely about the show, but it was so much in homelessness. We forget. We often think, well, homelessness. Well, I need to get to that white picket fence, and I need to get everything out of life again. And what homelessness for me was I need to find some joy that gets me through next week. And so for me, it became a TV show. So once a week, I'd save up and get a cheap hotel and be able to watch my show, get a shower and stuff like that. But it was something that I was able to look forward to. And while I looked forward to it, I was also able to build myself back up. And so I think
through creative writing, essentially.
Yep. And so we often forget that it's the little steps that help get you out of the troubles that you're facing. So often we think big picture, we need to get this person a house, we need to get this person a job, we need the picket fence, we need the dog, and that's not how you do it. You have to have these small victories and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
In 2009, then I did a 48-state road trip, handing out socks to homeless people all across the U.S. And so I know Skid Row very well. So I applaud your work.
Yeah.
There, but
wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Congrats to you. That's beautiful.
Thank you. So back to it, July 15th on BET Plus.
Yeah.
Check you out on the First Wife Club, and look forward to checking it out. And I thank you so much for your time. Sorry for some of the technical difficulties there, but
no, it's okay. I look forward to reading your review.
Thank you. You have yourself a great day.
All right, you too.
That does it for this episode. Thank you for listening to the Staffa Corner.